All right, I'm going to shoot it to you straight. I have two secrets that I need to tell. I need to get off my chest. The other day, two of my friends had asked, are you going to do an episode where you tell the audience about what is Hot Ann and what are you going to talk about? And it freaked me out because I was like, ugh, I've been avoiding having to do this episode because I know that the origin story of Hot Ann is not that simple, and it's a little bit tricky to tell you in 3 sentences. So I'm going to do my best to tell you a little bit about myself so it will help you understand why I wanted to do a podcast, why I want to start my own brand. Two stories that I'm going to share they're not like happy stories. They're stories that really impacted me and were painful for me and things I never spoke about, really, to anyone. So it's a little hard for me to articulate. I also only recently allowed myself to actually feel feelings towards one of the situations that happened when I was 13. And it's still a little fresh. My intuition really is telling me that in order to really close the loop and step into this, I need to talk about it because these two experiences are really rooted in how I got here. And Hot Ann's origin story begins the day I came into this world, November 13th. That's Hot Ann's birthday. Because Hot Ann is all about connecting with your inner voice and finding your inner voice, your intuition, and matching that with your actual voice. And not feeling silenced and not feeling like you need to be performative and make decisions because of pressure. We're a grassroots brand. No, but it really is all about connecting with yourself and that version of you that came into this world before you had any fears, before you had any bad experiences. It's really connecting with your essence. I love that word. And sometimes that essence, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and over time that essence matures and goes through experiences. Not to bring it back to tarot cards, however, if you listen to the episode from last week, I talked about how I pulled the Fool reversed, and the Fool is basically like not running, he's like jolly, it looks like he's about to walk off a cliff. And the whole idea of the Fool is it's all about new beginnings, and I pulled it reversed, so it was telling me that you're there but you're not. And then yesterday I pulled the Fool upright. And it was just a sign that told me, hey, you've been looking over the cliff, holding on to these two stories that are part of the Big Daddy chapter. You read them. You thought about them. You finally felt them. Now it's time to jump off the cliff together, holding hands with you guys. Only if we can interlace our fingers, though. I don't like a cupped, what's it called? Hand hug? Whoa. It's been a while since anyone's held my hand. It's time. I also pulled today the Hermit, and it's a man holding a staff and a lantern, and it's about how all of the answers are within you. Like, you have all of your wisdom and your inner truth and enlightenment. It's there. These experiences, it's not only going to be healing for me to share, but who knows, maybe it will help someone. And Hot Ann, yeah, it is all about finding your inner voice and learning how to trust your intuition. And I want to tell you the tools, the tips, the tricks to get there. But it's also about helping people. And sometimes helping people is just sharing a story like I'm doing now. Okay, so here I go. I'm not going to go into detail with one of the stories just because it's not germane to Hot Ann. It's not germane to the present right now. It's also uncomfortable for me to talk about. I'm not avoiding it because I know I talked about how we need to do things that make us feel uncomfortable. But I also think that I can use words in a way that will still allow the story to have an impact and get my point across. So you're welcome for telling a story in a quick way because I'm not a short form person. So I'll start with the darker one and then we'll go to the not so dark one. But when I was 13, I was in a situation with another person, and I was a very insecure child. I was like the tallest one in class. When we had like school concerts and when we had to do height order, my ass was always like up at the front. Here I am, the first girl in line. So it's tough. Being tall is great, but it's definitely not amazing when you're like 8, 9, 11. I'm like, I want to be small. I want to be like 4'6", like all my other 4'6" friends were. And I don't even know if that's like short or tall because I feel like I was like 5 foot in the third grade. So I was just an insecure kid, but I also was extremely self-aware and hypervigilant. And I had a high emotional intelligence, like EQ as a child. Listen, I'm not sitting here telling you I'm so intelligent. I'm so smart. I count on my fingers. And when I'm in public and I don't want to go 1, 2, 3, I click the back of my teeth. So yeah, insecure, tall, could read a room at 8, and never really was comfortable telling anyone I liked them. Like when crushes like started to become a thing and people started to have boyfriends in the 5th or 6th grade, couldn't be me. Yeah, sure, I felt like some people were cute, but they would never know. I would never tell them. Like I would rather move to a new town than tell my 5th grade crush that I liked him. But internally I was like me! Like internally I'm like screaming like, oh my God, I want him to ask me to dance. It's so Scorpio too. It's so funny, which is like why I love astrology. Once I like really learned about like Scorpio energy, I'm like, damn. And I have a lot. So it's like I can read you, but you can't read me. And if you do read me, I'm lying about it. No, I'm just kidding. Out of all of the dances that I went to, I think only one boy asked me to dance with them. And honestly, I was like, thank God, because I was so nervous. But again, internally, I was also bummed in my jean skirt with leggings and Ugg boots, looking at all of my friends dancing. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So it's just funny because my intuition and my inner voice was always in a dialogue with myself, but it never matched my external world because I was really self-aware and insecure, and I had a lot of anxiety as a kid. This is one of the stories, so I guess I'll lead with this one. I had my first panic attack when I was like 7 or 8 at Costco. It was really scary because I was little and I was in Costco and it was July. I was hot. I wanted to leave. I wanted to go to the beach, and I lost my parents and it was really crowded. I just remember like looking up and then feeling like I was floating and then feeling like I was going to pass out. And then that sensation of not feeling in control of my body freaked me out because, again, even as a little kid, very self-aware, losing control like that was wild. And I felt like I was going to die, and it was really scary. And I went up to some man and I was like, can you help me? And he sat down with me. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. Can you help me find my parents? And I don't know how I got separated from them. I was freaked out and I was just feeling weird and I was like shaky, and I met up with my parents. I remember sitting in the car and I just remember feeling weird. And I remember I never felt like myself after that happened, but I was too afraid to talk about it. I thought if I talked about it, something bad would happen to me. And it wasn't until I was like 22 when I was commuting from the city that I had a panic attack, and I got off the train at Newark because I was like, I can't be on this train. I'm like, what's happening? The Costco situation's happening again. And I bolted off the train, and then I went to the doctor and he was like, yeah, you have anxiety. And I was like, the whole time, all of these years, every day living with it, having no idea what it was, having to just bury it down and detach, but always being so nervous. And that manifested into hypochondria. I was always nervous that something was going to happen to me. I was going to get like sick. Then I had an eating disorder, and it was all about like control because I lost that control when I was 8, and I was so afraid I never talked about it. And It was only recently in therapy that I told my therapist about it. And I'm like, this is so stupid. But I'm like, I had this panic attack in Costco and it changed my life because I never felt the same. It wasn't until I was like in my 20s when I figured I was in anxiety, and I was like so angry that I lived a really long part of my life with this intense anxiety. It like ruled my world. First episode, that fear, that anxiety was like just making decisions for me. But my inner monologue was like, damn it, like I'm so sick of this shit. It felt really good to get that off my chest. And that's when my therapist had said, when that happened, when you were little, as a young kid, to protect yourself, there was a part of you that was created. And it was the Costco girl part. And because you never wanted to revisit that and feel that and talk about it, you ignored her and you never showed compassion for her. So she stayed around and you were never able to kick that feeling because you never wanted to acknowledge her. So she's think about little Costco girl. I'm like, oh, I feel bad now. But I didn't see it like that. I just saw it as like such a scary thing. It made me, I never felt the same after, and it changed my life. And I never spoke about it for a really long time. I'm 32, but I also feel like I'm 25 because I'm reclaiming so many years that I was, I don't know, like a low vibe or just not living my life. And I was like, that's a really good point. When we spoke about it and talked about it as like your inner child protecting you and how it manifested in control issues and being afraid and overthinking and having crippling self-awareness. And it's like I'm hyper focused on my body and how I look and what I'm eating and what I'm not eating, and just like it's just like a fucking shit show, you know? But I was pretty good. I mean, anyone let me know if I wasn't, at keeping it very locked, because that's what, bringing it back to astrology, practical astrology here. It's, again, astrology is not a belief system. It's a nice guide. One thing I do want to say is when I talk about astrology, I'm very hyper aware of how it might land, because I know that I don't like to be told what I should value. That should come from you. So astrology is not a religion. It's just, I find, a really nice philosophy and guide that helped me learn more about myself in a really powerful way, which I'm excited to continue to talk about and read people's birth charts and get into it, because it really helped me. It helped me a lot. But anyways, astrology, not a religion. More so, it's like this practical philosophy that I've just been incorporating in my life. And I never want anyone to think that just because I talk about astrology doesn't mean that you need to subscribe to it, believe in it. That needs to come from you, babe. And I'm very aware of that, because as someone who has felt like a little bit of a rebel, and I have this force within me that's like, I need to do everything different, like non-traditional. Literally, my birth chart says that everything about your life is going to be non-traditional. I feel like I was able to keep everything on lock and on the DL my whole life with the anxiety and everything else I talked about, because Scorpios are very resilient, and we almost like having these things happen because we learn from them and we grow. Being fired from multiple jobs, having transformative things happen to me. I feel like I've lived 9 lives, but yet I want more. It's kind of sick and twisted, but it is very Scorpio energy, and we're the phoenix. We burn it all down to build it back up. I found rituals that I incorporate in my day-to-day that have really helped me when I have these moments where I just like transform. Have you seen Harry Potter? That bird, Dumbledore's bird that blows up, the phoenix, that's me. When I have a phoenix moment, like, I feel like I come back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this differently. A lot of it involves like being active. Like, I'm a very active person and I need to expel that energy. It helps me get my thoughts out, because my thoughts are always zooming. It's like my imagination is wild. It's my favorite thing about me. But sometimes it's exhausting, especially being someone who can like pick up on energies and connect with a lot of people. A lot of people like to tell me like things that happen to them, and I love that because I want to help them, but sometimes it can be very draining. So that was the Costco story. I told you it was going to be short, and it definitely wasn't short, but this also is my podcast. I'm going to have to take a sip of my emotional support Essentia. Please hold. I need my basketball for this. Okay, so The difference between the first story and the story I'm about to tell you is the first story, I feel like I have been able to work with the anxious energy that I have. And I have worked through it, and I feel like I'm at a good place with it. It's not to say that it's not there, but I have more compassion for myself and that 8-year-old in Costco. The second story, though, is something that I feel like I'm getting close to closing this part of my life, but it's been really hard. I'm so nervous. But we have to do things that make us nervous. We have to do things that make us afraid. I was talking about being awkward, not awkward, but just moody. I mean, I don't think that's surprising, right? Me being a moody 13-year-old, me wanting so badly for someone to ask me to dance, but I'll never tell you that, I like you. That shouldn't surprise you if you know me. I feel blocked. My throat chakra feels very blocked in a way. And that does relate back to the anxiety and how that has made me feel silenced. But the anxiety happened when I was 8. And then this next incident happened when I was 13. Lucky number 13. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to be pretty vague with the details because it's still hard for me to talk about. But it's more so about the impact, not the details. It's not germane to the story. I was put in a situation with a guy in a basement. Maybe that's why I hate basements. When I was 13. And up until that point, yeah, you guys know. I think I danced with one boy at a dance. I never had an 8th grade boyfriend. First of all, if Spin the Bottle was going on, I wasn't playing. I was upstairs in the kitchen talking to the parents. Couldn't be me. I hadn't kissed a boy. None of those things. I was like, I'm good. Because I was really insecure. I was in a situation where I was taken advantage of. And it was really traumatizing. I did not feel like I had any control over. And it was traumatic. I feel like I can use the word. I'm validating myself. It was really traumatic. And after it happened, I remember just feeling numb and embarrassed. I wanted to move out of state. I didn't say anything. I felt like it was my fault. And after it happened, the person never spoke to me, ignored me, and people made fun of me a little bit for it. But me being a Scorpio, I was like, I'm not fazed. I'm going to, please. I'm like, you think this is going to get me upset? I had a panic attack in Costco when I was 8. I was able to just totally detach because I knew if I put any energy towards it, it would just fuel it. I was like, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to kind of minimize myself and be small because it was so painful. Because no one knew what happened. I felt really insecure, embarrassed, and I couldn't connect, that internal voice with my external voice. I was Costco girl anxiety, really afraid, really nervous, really scared, really ashamed. And that really gave me a lot of difficulty with intimacy, vulnerability, and being seen. I talked about this in the first episode. But that moment, it really, really impacted me. And not talking about it was, I know it wasn't the healthy way, but I was 13. I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. So it was really tough because I put up a wall. And as someone who valued depth and connecting with people, I was like, I can never allow myself to be seen or heard because look what just happened to me. I don't want that to happen again. It was like the ultimate betrayal in a way. As someone who had this colorful voice and imagination and who wanted to express themselves, I was like, I can't. I just felt blocked. And it bothered me. But I just tried to kind of suppress it down. And it's funny because it didn't make me hate men. It didn't make me hate men at all. It actually made me hate myself. which is like wild. It made me feel like I was not enough because I was ignored. And I felt like no one understood me. I felt like very misunderstood because I think I was carrying this with me. It was tough. It was really fucking hard. And I also felt because I had all these walls up, I never really would let anyone in. And it also made me feel like I was unlovable, but I just didn't realize it was just because I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel like I can trust anyone to let them in. And those are two really, really big things that are important to me and that I value. Like, I have to trust you and I have to feel safe with you. And the people that are in my life now, I trust and I feel safe with them. And that's major. I have a high tolerance. You can piss me off, you can annoy me, you can be like, you're a dumb bitch, and I'll get over it. That's like the funny thing about Scorpios. Like, we have a high tolerance, but the second that you break trust and you make us feel like we're unsafe, and I think that's anyone, but I just think Scorpios in general, like, you're done. You're absolutely done. I just could not really let anyone in. I had a really hard time dating. Any date was like the first date and the last date because I would never see them again. Because a lot of the people I just felt like I couldn't, a lot of the guys I felt like I couldn't really connect with, but I didn't want to connect with them. I really didn't. I was just so ashamed and made me so insecure with myself, and I didn't really care to date. So when people would ask me, and still sometimes you get the random, oh, you're still single? And I'm just like, yeah. And for a while I used to just be like, yeah, like I'm single by choice. Like I don't prioritize it because it's true. Like, I always felt like until I worked through some of these things and figured out like my purpose and my place in life, I can't open myself up to anyone. Like I can't trust anyone. And I don't know, I just got to this point where I'm like, I can't keep living like this. I have to let people in. I have let people in. And when I do, positive things happen, like good things happen. I learn from people. I learn from connecting with others, and not even in a dating way. It's just like the whole idea of letting my walls down that were built so high from the Costco and basement experience. I'm like, I can't start this and try to inspire and help people connect with themselves if I'm still avoiding these two things that I've been really afraid to talk about. You know? I'm like, follow your own advice, hot aunt. And I'm like, all right, fine. Here I am talking about the two things that petrify me, and the two things I'm like I'm not really embarrassed by them anymore, but I don't know. I just think there's some people that talking about these deeper, darker topics, it comes a little easier for them. Maybe not. Actually, I don't know. I take that back. It might not come easier from them. It's just been really hard for me. So those two moments obviously shaped me, and they brought me here because on July 1st, when I was fired, I was like a month severance, which after all of the bullshit this company put me through, fuck you. It was during 4th of July, as we know, and I had two lawyers look over it, and they were like, do not sign this, because if you sign it, there's like writing in here that is basically giving up your right to unemployment. And they're like, you're going to get more money from unemployment than this month's severance. And I remember I was getting a little bit of pressure from my dad to sign it. And it all kind of hit me because signing it would take away my voice. I could never talk about them. I could never go after them legally if we found out there was any wrongdoing. And I was like, no. Like, I have felt so silenced my entire life, not just from those two experiences, because those two experiences created this like block. My throat chakra was blocked. It disconnected. It severed the connection between like my inner voice and my external voice. And I've been silenced in different job situations, and my voice has been taken away from me. And if I sign this NDA, I'm just repeating the same fucking karmic pattern. What is the lesson here? $8,000 from a allegedly fraudulent company, or my voice? I'm going to choose my voice. So I said, no, I'm not signing the NDA. I'm going to walk the harder path because I'm a Scorpio and I can do it. And I'm going to start my own business. And it's going to be called Hot Aunt. And I'm going to be the zany woo-woo aunt who has crystals and bracelets and is going to help other people in any way I can, whether it's through the podcast, whether it's through helping them learn about their birth chart, just talking about funny stories, storytelling, connection. I want to change my life because I can, and I will, and I shall. So when people say, like, what is Hot Aunt? Now you know why it's like a little bit hard for me to say what it is, because for a very long time, I haven't been able to speak freely and confidently because my inner voice and my inner essence has been totally cut off. But now it's connected. I just got the chills. So that's the long answer of what Hot Aunt is. And I think the longer I do this and the more we go and the more we talk about stories and my background, I want to hear from you too. Like, I have an email. This is another thing. I have like no links up, no info. I want to hear people's stories. I want people to like submit their problems and their issues that they're having. I have a really good gift of seeing things from a multiple sides and giving you that Hot Aunt advice that like you didn't even think that you needed to hear, but boom, there it is. There you go. This sounds silly. My birth chart is like, you're not really good at the details, but you like high level thoughts and ideas. My Saturn's in Aquarius, so I don't like traditional structure. Saturn's all about like structure and your lessons and discipline, and Aquarius is an air sign and it's all about being innovative and inventive and doing things differently, rebellious. It's a fun place to have Saturn. It's a good place to have Saturn in Aquarius. So it's not about structure and routine in the traditional sense. So here I'm thinking like, I want to be able to have everyone connect with themselves and lead with that hot energy. And then collectively, if we're all doing that, we're raising this frequency that Mother Earth is on. Could we perhaps live in a better world doing this? I don't know. Why the fuck not? And that's just the philosophy that I have right now. It's just like, why not? Now that I have this voice back, and now that I'm truly not afraid anymore, and I feel empowered and excited and really connected with myself and my femininity too, because I feel like that's been really lost over the years. I'm like, let's burn it all down, in the metaphorical way, of course, because I feel like I'm like Theo Von, but the shaman version, the one that went to Tibet and studied with the monks for 5 years. It's like I speak in tongues. We're only going to burn it down in the metaphorical way because I love a metaphor and I love a story. Those are my 2 stories from my past that I felt I needed to share because they are closing the loop on a really long time where I felt like I didn't have a voice. It really came full circle for me when I was fired from my job on July 1st and was presented with an NDA. I said, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm just going to shred it, and me and my voice are going to start a revolution. Imagine we start a revolution. Crazy. But yeah, so the Hermit card and the Fool. I'm glad that we did this. Thank you for listening. And now we can move forward and put some of this to bed, and I can heal and work through these lingering things before this next full moon, which calls for some closure on relationships. And I find it interesting because it's like, I think this has really healed the relationship I have with myself, which is the most important relationship you can have, showing yourself compassion and love, true self-love and compassion. So that's one part of it I feel that I needed to heal before this full moon. And then the second part is I need to heal and work through my issues with relationships. I don't want to be single forever. I'm like, what would relationship Kara look like? I have no idea. It's so crazy. Like, I've never had a boyfriend. What would that look like? It makes me excited because, like I said, there's certain energies in my life that have made me think about things different, if you know what I mean. And I think they also are a part of this, but more to come on that next episode. Bye, guys.